The sun rises over Jerusalem, a golden age, at its heart a king, King Solomon, famed for his wisdom, his wealth, his power. But Solomon's story is not just one of glory, it is a story of caution. Solomon inherited a mighty kingdom. His father, King David, had unified Israel. David left Solomon a legacy of strength and prosperity. But he also left him a warning about the temptations of power and the importance of remaining true to God. We'll witness his rise, we'll marvel at his wisdom, but we'll also see his flaws. Join me as we explore the epic story of Solomon. Solomon ascended to the throne a young man. He was David's chosen heir, but his path was not without its challenges. Adonijah, Solomon's older brother, also sought the crown. This led to tension. However, Solomon had the support of powerful allies. Nathan the prophet, a trusted advisor to David, backed Solomon. With their support, Solomon overcame the challenge. He secured his throne. He was now the undisputed ruler of Israel. Despite the initial turmoil, Solomon yearned for peace. He desired to rule with justice. He wanted prosperity for his people. Ruling a kingdom as vast as Israel required wisdom. Solomon understood his own limitations. And so he turned to the one source he believed could provide it. He turned to God. The young king traveled to Gibeon. It was a sacred place. It was there that God appeared to Solomon in a dream. The Lord spoke, "Ask what I shall give you." Imagine the weight of such an offer. Solomon could have asked for anything: power, wealth, victory over his enemies. But Solomon was different. He didn't ask for personal gain. "Give your servant an understanding heart," Solomon pleaded. He desired the ability to govern wisely, to discern right from wrong. This request deeply moved the Lord. And so the Lord granted Solomon's request. He granted him wisdom beyond measure. From that day forward, Solomon's wisdom became legendary. His fame spread far and wide. People traveled from distant lands to witness his judgments. His court became a beacon of wisdom, a place where disputes were settled with fairness. One famous story tells of two women claiming to be the mother of the same infant, the real mother and a liar. Both presented their cases before Solomon. Solomon, in his wisdom, called for a sword. He declared that the baby be cut in two. Each woman would receive half. The suggestion was shocking, but it was a test. The true mother, in an act of selfless love, begged Solomon to spare the child. The liar, however, readily agreed to Solomon's gruesome proposal. Her true nature was revealed. Solomon's wisdom had uncovered the truth. Solomon's reign ushered in an era of unprecedented peace for Israel. His wisdom extended beyond the courtroom. He understood that true strength lay not just in military might, but in diplomacy and trade. He forged alliances with neighboring kingdoms. He opened up trade routes. Under Solomon's rule, the Israelites enjoyed a period of prosperity they had never known before. The swords were beaten into plowshares, the spears into pruning hooks. The land flourished. The people prospered. The arts and sciences thrived. Solomon's reign was not without its challenges. He faced threats from rival kingdoms, but through it all, he governed with wisdom. This era of peace and prosperity allowed Solomon to focus on his most ambitious project yet, the building of the temple in Jerusalem. The construction of the temple was a monumental undertaking. It required the labor of thousands. It demanded the finest materials. Cedar wood was brought from Lebanon. Gold was imported from Ophir. Skilled artisans from across the kingdom lent their talents to the project. The temple was designed to be a place of awe and wonder. Its walls were adorned with intricate carvings. Its interior was overlaid with pure gold. At the heart of the temple lay the Holy of Holies, a sacred chamber that housed the Ark of the Covenant. The dedication of the temple was a momentous occasion. Solomon himself presided over the event. He offered sacrifices to God. The completion of the temple marked the pinnacle of Solomon's reign. As Solomon's reign progressed, his wealth and splendor grew beyond measure. Gold and silver flowed into his treasury. His court was a spectacle of luxury and opulence. He surrounded himself with the finest things life had to offer: exotic animals, beautiful women, and precious jewels. His stables housed horses of every breed. His chariots were plated in gold. Solomon's fame spread far and wide. Kings and queens from distant lands journeyed to Jerusalem. Solomon's wisdom, however, did not always guide his actions. He allowed himself to be seduced by the trappings of power. Despite his growing personal indulgences, Solomon's reputation for wisdom continued to spread. People from all walks of life sought his counsel. Scholars, rulers, and ordinary people alike came to him with their problems and disputes. And Solomon, drawing upon the wisdom that God had given him, dispensed justice and offered guidance. His wisdom extended beyond matters of law and governance. He was a keen observer of the natural world. He was a gifted poet and songwriter. He composed proverbs and songs that explored the depths of human experience. The Book of Proverbs, attributed to Solomon, is a collection of wise sayings and teachings that continue to inspire and challenge people today. Even as Solomon's personal life began to unravel, his legacy as a wise and insightful ruler endured. His proverbs and songs continued to be passed down through generations. The weight of the kingdom pressed heavily upon Solomon. His wisdom, once a shining beacon, began to flicker. He found solace in worldly pleasures. He amassed wives and concubines. His heart, once fully devoted to God, began to stray. Solomon, perhaps out of a desire to please them, or perhaps out of a growing indifference, allowed their idols to be worshipped within the walls of Jerusalem. This was a grave betrayal of the covenant with God. The consequences were not long in coming. Solomon's extravagance took a toll on his kingdom. The construction of the temple, a testament to his faith, was followed by palaces and fortresses. The burden of taxation grew heavier. The people, once eager to contribute to their king's grand vision, began to grumble. Forced labor became commonplace. Young men were conscripted to work on Solomon's endless building projects. The king, once revered as a wise and just ruler, was increasingly seen as out of touch. Whispers of rebellion began to circulate. The worship of foreign gods, once confined to the shadows, became increasingly brazen. Altars to Baal, Ashtoreth, and Molech were erected on the hills surrounding Jerusalem. Solomon, in his indifference, allowed these abominations to flourish. The spiritual heart of Israel, once strong and vibrant, began to weaken. The people, seeing their king embrace foreign gods, followed suit. The consequences of Solomon's idolatry were far-reaching. The moral fabric of society began to unravel. The kingdom he had inherited from his father, united and strong, was being torn apart from within. The discontent among the people, long simmering beneath the surface, erupted into open rebellion. Jeroboam, a young man from the tribe of Ephraim, rose up in defiance of Solomon. Solomon, his grip on power weakening, tried to quell the uprising, but the damage had been done. His extravagance, his idolatry, his neglect of the people's welfare had eroded their trust. The once mighty kingdom built on the foundation of God's covenant was fracturing. The rebellion, although ultimately unsuccessful in unseating Solomon, was a harbinger of things to come. Solomon, in the twilight of his reign, was a shadow of his former self. As Solomon's reign drew to a close, the consequences of his choices settled upon him like a heavy shroud. The once vibrant king, full of energy and ambition, now carried himself with the weight of regret. His kingdom, once a beacon of unity and prosperity, now teetered on the brink of division. The whispers of his people, once filled with admiration and respect, now carried the sting of disappointment and anger. He had failed to heed the warnings of the prophets, the counsel of his advisors, and the whispers of his own conscience. He had allowed the allure of worldly pleasures to eclipse the wisdom that God had bestowed upon him. The once thriving trade routes that had brought wealth and prosperity to his kingdom were now disrupted by unrest and uncertainty. The once harmonious society, where different tribes and cultures had coexisted in relative peace, was now riven by suspicion and animosity. Solomon, who had dedicated his life to building a legacy that would outlive him, now faced the bitter reality that his name would forever be associated with the decline of his kingdom. Despite his undeniable wisdom and his remarkable achievements, Solomon's legacy would forever be tarnished by the choices he made in the latter part of his reign. The man who had built the magnificent temple in Jerusalem, a testament to his devotion to God, had also allowed the worship of foreign gods to take root within his kingdom, compromising the very heart of Israel's faith. The king who had authored proverbs extolling the virtues of wisdom, justice, and righteousness had, through his own actions, demonstrated the ease with which even the wisest of men can succumb to the temptations of power and the allure of worldly possessions. The echoes of his early reign, marked by peace, prosperity, and the pursuit of justice, would be forever intertwined with the discord, discontent, and spiritual decay that characterized his later years. His story served as a stark reminder that true greatness lies not in the accumulation of wealth or power, but in the steadfast pursuit of righteousness and the unwavering obedience to God's law. Solomon's life, in its triumphs and its failures, offered a profound lesson for future generations that even the most gifted individuals are not immune to the corrupting influence of sin, and that the pursuit of wisdom must be accompanied by a steadfast commitment to righteousness. After a reign of 40 years, King Solomon, the once great ruler of Israel, breathed his last. His death sent shockwaves through the kingdom, signaling the end of an era of peace and prosperity. Discontent among the tribes erupted into open rebellion. Rehoboam, Solomon's son, lacked his father's wisdom. His attempts to quell the uprising with force only worsened the situation. The kingdom of Israel was torn asunder. 10 tribes broke away to form the northern kingdom, leaving Rehoboam to rule Judah. The division marked a pivotal moment in Israel's history, a tragic legacy for Solomon. Despite the tragic end to his reign, Solomon's legacy was not entirely defined by failure. His wisdom continued to resonate through the ages. The proverbs and songs attributed to him offered timeless insights for generations to come. These writings served as a constant reminder of the potential for wisdom and the importance of seeking knowledge. They taught valuable lessons about righteousness, the dangers of pride, and the enduring power of humility. Though Solomon strayed, his words guided others towards righteousness. Solomon's story is a tragedy, a cautionary tale. Wisdom, though a precious gift, is not a guarantee against failure. Solomon, blessed with unparalleled wisdom, succumbed to power and wealth. He lost sight of the God who granted him such gifts. True fulfillment cannot be found in worldly pursuits alone. It lies in seeking God's will and living a life guided by his principles. Wisdom divorced from righteousness is like a ship without a rudder. It may sail for a time, but it is destined to be shipwrecked. Solomon's life offers valuable lessons. Use our gifts wisely. Guard our hearts against pride and greed. True legacy is not measured by what we build, but by how we live. Learn from Solomon's wisdom and mistakes. Seek a wisdom that leads to eternal life. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and share. Join our family by subscribing to our channel. May God bless you and all of your endeavors. Thank you for watching.